Yavanoyam nirundesman Ajitavan Mahabala Magadopyadhyavasyova Parasvo Vagamishyati Yavanoyam nirudesman Ajitavan Mahabala Magadopyadhyavasyova Parashvo Vagamishyati. Please chant. Yavanaha, foreign barbarian. I am. This, Nirudhe, is opposing. Asman, us. Adya, today. Tavat, as much. Mahabalaha, greatly powerful. Magadha, Jarasandhar. Api, also. Adya, today. Va, or. Sra, tomorrow. Va, or. Parasvya, the day after tomorrow. Va, or Agamishyati, will come. BBT translation. This Yavana is besieging us already, and the mighty king of Magadha will soon arrive here, if not today, then tomorrow or the next day. So there's no BBT purport. We'll look at Sanatana Goswami, who says, he has completely surrounded Nirunde us since he is so powerful. This is again referring to Kalayavana. The present tense is used to emphasize that the surrounding was continuous. Therefore, it is impossible to escape from here. Though the Lord is omniscient, he speaks of different times, saying that the enemy may arrive following normal patterns of conversation. So in other words, although Krishna knows exactly when Jarasandhar is going to arrive because he's omniscient, he's saying he may arrive today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Okay, and we'll go to Srila Jiva Goswami, whose commentary on text 46 is, he has completely surrounded us since he is so powerful, therefore it is impossible to escape from here. Okay, so we're going to also read text 47. Avayo yud yator asya yad aganta jara suta bandum hanis yati atava nesyate swa purambali. If powerful Jarasandhar comes while we two are busy fighting Kalayavana, Jarasandhar may kill our relatives or else take them away to his capital. So again, there's no BBT purport, and we'll look first at Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary. If Jarasandhar comes while we and our troops are fighting Kalayavana, he will kill our relatives, those in the city who cannot fight, the elders and infants, and the cowherds of Raja. So I thought that was very significant that at this time in Mathura there are cowherds of Raja, or else Krishna is saying that Jarasandhar will go all the way to Vraja and kill the cowherds. If he does not kill them, he will take them away. And look at Sanatana Goswami's, which is very similar. Although understanding that the Yadus cannot be killed, he speaks of the alternative. Jarasandhar will take them away because he is powerful. He speaks in this way out of affection, or instills fear, so that he can relocate the Yadus to Dwarka. Avayo yud yator asya yad aganta jarasuta bandum hanyeshyati atava neshyati swa purambali. If powerful Jarasandhar comes while we two are busy fighting Kalayavana, Jarasandhar may kill our relatives or else take them away to his capital. Now, Jarasandhar taking them away was a big deal. It wasn't a small thing, because we know that Jarasandhar had imprisoned many tens of thousands of kings who he planned to give as a sacrifice. He planned to kill all of them as a sacrifice to Lord Shiva, which, of course, later on, Krishna stops that. So here we see Krishna protecting his devotees, and he's thinking about this, he's planning it, he's talking with Balaram about this, and he's saying, okay, we have a problem. Kalyavana is already surrounding us such that there's no escape. We have to fight with him. We don't really have a choice because there's no way out. But while we're busy fighting him, Jarasandha is going to come again. He may come today, tomorrow, or the next day, but he's going to be coming very soon. And while we're busy fighting Kalyavana, Jarasandha is either going to capture or kill all of our relatives. So what are we going to do? We have to do something. And of course, what Krishna does, which we get to especially at the last verse of this chapter with the Acharya's commentaries, is really astonishing. Now, this concept that Krishna is always going to protect the devotees is a very important part of surrender, and it's something that I think is often misunderstood. What does it mean that Krishna always protects his devotees? Right? The devotee's mood is I'm going to surrender in the sense of having assurance that Krishna will protect me. And Krishna has a promise that I will always protect my devotees. So I want to look first at the mood of the devotee. What does it mean when the devotee has this mood that Krishna is going to protect me? Somehow or other, he's going to protect me. So, as we all know, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote songs about each of the symptoms, each of the 6 symptoms of surrender in his book Sharanagati. And this is one of the songs that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote specifically, that Krishna will always protect me. And this is, I haven't memorized this song, but I really like the mood that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has here. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals in his Gitanjali or Gitavali, he reveals in his Gitavali that he is a Manjari Gopi. He's one of Srimati Radharani's assistants in the spiritual world. But in this particular song, he writes it as if he's Krishna's cow. He's writing this as if I'm one of Krishna's cows, and Krishna is going to protect me. So I always think of this as the cow song. You know, in the Bible, King David writes as if he's one of the Lord's what? No, that would be far later. But good guess. I always like it when people guess, even if they're wrong. Very, very famous prayer of King David. The Lord is my shepherd. So that means he's thinking that he's a sheep. So King David writes his very famous, I think it's Song 23. He writes his psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures, right? Although I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear because the Lord's with me. He's protected. He sets me a table in the presence of my enemies. I don't have that memorized either, but something like that. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing this song that I'm one of Krishna's cows. So I'd like to read the translation. Surrendering my soul unto you has lifted from me the burden of false pride. No longer will I try to provide for my own safety. So does that mean that if Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was with us in 2024 that he wouldn't put a seatbelt on? Or that he would close his eyes walking across the street? No. So let's think about what this mood is. No longer will I try to provide for my own safety. I know that you will give protection to your treasured possessions, O Lord. I now understand the mentality of your treasured cows safely maintained by your side. So we all take care of our stuff, right? Everybody takes care of their stuff, right? We know where our wallet is. You don't know where your wallet is? We know where our wallet is. We know where our keys are, where our driver's license is, or maybe if we have a passport, where our passport is. If things are really important to us, our phone or whatever, we know where they are. We take care of them. They're our treasured possessions. And what to speak if your treasured possessions are living beings? So you know where if you've got little children, little dependent children, you know where they are. Or if you have pets, right? You know where they are. You're taking care of them. If you have to be out, you have hey, can you make sure you feed my dog? Can you make sure you feed my cat? Can you, put the cows in the barn tonight? Right? When you lead your herds to pasture, O Madhava, on the banks of the Yamuna River, you will call to them by softly playing on your flute. By slaying great demons such as Aghasura and Bakasura, you will always provide full protection, O Khan of the cowherd settlement. Fearless and confident of your protection, I will drink the water of the Yamuna. The Kaliya serpent's venom poisoned the Yamuna's waters, yet that poison will be vanquished. You will purify the Yamuna, and by such heroic deeds enhance our faith. So here he's talking about the pastime where the cows and the boys drank the Yamuna water. Again, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur he's a gopi, so he's not there in that pastime as a gopi. Everybody's following? The young gopis, they weren't drinking the water of the Yamuna in the Kaliya pastime. It was the cows and the cowherd boys. So he's speaking in this mood of being a cow. That even though Kaliya has poisoned the Yamuna, I'll drink the water because I know you're going to protect me. You will surely protect me by swallowing the forest fire. Now, there's two forest fires, one in which it was just the cows and the cowherd boys, and then one after vanquishing Kaliya where everybody was beset by the forest fire. And in each case, Krishna swallowed them. Thus you were called Gopala, protector of the cows, and Govinda, pleaser of the cows. So again, he's in this mood. You're going to protect and take care of me. I'm one of your cows. In order to curb the malice of Indra, king of the demigods, you will protect me from his torrents of rain, O lifter of the mighty Govardhan hill. When the four-headed Brahma abducts me, so the four-headed Brahma, he abducts the calves and the boys. When the four-headed Brahma abducts me along with your cowherd boyfriends and calves, then also you will surely protect me, O Gokula Hari. Bhakti Vinod is now the property of Gokula, your homely abode. O Keshava, kindly protect him with gentle, loving care. So he's in this mood of, Krishna, I'm your cow. And I know you're going to take care of your cows. You're going to take care of me just like I'm one of your cows. You're going to kill the demons that threaten me. You're going to, even though I drink the poison Yamuna water, and this is important, even though I drink the poison Yamuna water because I'm a cow, I don't know anything. Right? A cow is going to go to the water, they don't know it's been poisoned, and they're just going to drink it. It's not like they're intentionally putting themselves in danger. And then you're going to take care of it. You're going to bring me back to life. You're going to vanquish Kaliya. When Indra is sending rain, you're going to lift up Govardhan. And therefore, I just have this sense that I belong to you. And you're going to take care of me. Kind of the way a little child feels. We all remember how we felt when we were little children. I just feel my parents are going to take care of me. If you fall asleep in the car, your parents are just going to pick you up and carry you and put you in bed. You don't worry about it. I just fall asleep in the car. They're going to make sure I have food. They're going to make sure I have clothing. They're going to protect me. They're going to be there for me. So this is the mood of the devotee. Now, Krishna further explains this mood in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18, text 56 through 58. So text 56, he says, though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. And we have this under my protection. Mat vya parashraya. Ashraya is shelter, under my protection. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the shelter. And Srila Prabhupada, in several places, compares Krishna to an umbrella. He says that Krishna is like an umbrella that protects us from the sun of the material energy. Right? In India, the sun gets very, very hot, and people often use umbrellas not only for the rain, but also for the sun. And this is this same idea of protection. So what's he saying here? Although engaged in all kinds of activities. So it's not that we're spending all of our time simply in kirtan and worshiping the deity, but we're also working at a job, right? We're also taking care of our home. We're taking care of our car. We're taking a bath. We're doing all kinds of things. Right? We're interacting with so many people. We're putting, gas or electricity in our car. And we're all these different activities. My pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. And this is also mat prasadat. Prasadam we call, or the food we eat, prasadam, but that literally means mercy or grace. We're eating grace, we're eating mercy, we're eating kindness. So by my grace. And of course this verse reminds us of one of my favorite verses of Bhishma, when he's leaving his body, and it's described, then that man who spoke on thousands of topics with thousands of meanings and fought on thousands of battlefields with thousands of men, fixed his wide open eyes on the personality of Godhead who stood before him with garments that glittered and shined. So even though he was engaged in so many activities during his life, Bhishma was a great statesperson. He was the king for a long time, although long story, he didn't have the title of a king. And even when others were the king, he was there as a protector. So he was so busy with so many things in running the kingdom. But still, he was always fixed on Krishna. And at the end, he went back to home, back to Godhead by Krishna's grace. So 1857, Krishna is saying how to do this. Why does this work? He says, in all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. And here the Sanskrit for my protection is mat paraha. Para means supreme. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. And here he has the word. He also has this word, upashrita. We have ashrita again, that Krishna is a shelter. And he says, mat chitta. So chitta means our consciousness, our awareness. That always having that awareness that I'm under Krishna's shelter. I'm under, metaphorically, Krishna's umbrella. And then in the next verse, 58, he says, if you become conscious of me, now this I find fascinating, what Krishna says next. You will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. So Krishna's not saying there won't be any obstacles. He's not saying that. He said you'll pass over them. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. And here he has again chitta, mat chitta. If you absorb your consciousness in him, and again he has the word mat prasadat, you will get my mercy, you will get my prasadam, you will get my grace. So I want to read this particular purport. A person, because in this purport, Srila Prabhupada really talks about this mood of having, that Krishna is my protector. Srila Prabhupada's purport, this is to 1858. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. We all have so many things to do. I don't know about all of you, but I have a constant to-do list. And it's never over. No matter how many things I check off on the to-do list, I always have more things to put on the to-do list. Right? Isn't it? It's always like that. I think there were once or twice in my life, I was like, actually, I have nothing to do. But that's very unusual. Right? So executing the duties of his existence, but not unduly anxious. We're doing them, but without anxiety. Going on, the foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws. But as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. So this is the mood. What does it mean that I see Krishna as my protector? I have a mood of being like a cow, like Krishna's cow. And I'm doing my job. I'm eating the grass. I'm drinking the water. I'm giving the milk. Or if I'm a bull, I'm plowing in the fields. I'm doing my service. And Krishna's going to take care of me. I don't have to have undue anxiety. I do my duties. But I do my duties in a sense of love. And really in a sense of playfulness. At Krishna's cows, they're always in a sense of playfulness. So I have one friend who keeps a lot of cows on a huge farm, and he loves to take pictures of his cows running. He'll call them. He has some way he calls the cows. I don't think he plays a flute, but he calls them. And as soon as they hear his voice, they all start running. All these dozens of cows are just running. So the cows, the cowherd boys, they're very playful. They do their duty, they do their service, but not in a mood of anxiety, in a mood of play, in a mood of surrendered play, that I know Krishna is going to take care of me. Then how does Krishna protect us? What does that mean? This is very much misunderstood, how Krishna protects us. That often people think that the way Krishna will protect me is that nothing bad, according to my understanding of what is bad, is going to happen to me. And my dear friends, forget about that. That's not the reality. I remember one of my relatives, my stepmother, she would say, what's the use of being a religious person? Religious people suffer all the same things that anybody else suffers, so why should I bother? She was, externally identified herself with a particular religion. But she thought anybody who was actually religious was a fool. And why bother? It doesn't do you any good anyway. Atheists get cancer, religious people get cancer. Right? Atheists end up in an abusive relationship, and religious people end up in abusive relationships. Atheists get robbed, and religious people get robbed. Right? And that's a fact. We don't see that people who take to worship of God, whether it's in the Hare Krishna movement, or you're a Catholic, or a Lutheran, or a Sunni Muslim, or an Orthodox Jew, or Buddhist, or whatever religion, you're going to find the same percentage of stuff happening to anybody. Right? I was talking the other day with one devotee, how, everybody goes through some stuff. When I was visiting South Africa is an interesting place because it's very nice climate and they have huge natural resources. It actually is one of the most opulent countries in the world and could be one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But because of colonial exploitation and racism and apartheid, the country today is just riddled with agitation and crime. And there's no natural disasters. There's no cyclones, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, none of that stuff. Tsunamis happens in South Africa at all. And much of the country you have a year-long growing season, but there's severe crime there. Practically every devotee I know there has been either themselves or someone very close to them a victim of violent crime. Right? There was one devotee there who told me that she was raped, she got pregnant from the rape, and when her kid was in his 20s, he got carjacked at a traffic light and was murdered. And that's not unusual. And you could say, wow, well, why is this happening to somebody who's a devotee? And of course, we read in the Shastra, Prabhupada talked about this, about the Pandavas. And of course, Bhishma is also talking about the Pandavas when he's leaving his body. He said the Pandavas are all pure devotees. But what they've gone through in their life is unbelievable. And it's interesting that in Kunti's prayers, when Krishna is leaving to go back to Dwarka. She says, you protected us from the poison cake. You protected us from the fire in the house of lac. You protected us from the gambling match. You protected us from the exile. You protected us from the disrobing of Draupadi. And I'm thinking, well, sort of. You know, they still had to go through all of that stuff. And what to speak of, I mean, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, that their children were all killed. That's like one of the worst things that can possibly happen to someone, is that their child is killed. And then, you know, the 5 sons of Draupadi who had survived the battle, they're murdered. They're not even killed gloriously on the battlefield. They're murdered in their sleep. It's just horrific. You know, they were in exile, and they get their kingdom back, and they have the Rajasuya, and everything's wonderful, and Indraprastha's built up, and there's this gambling match, and then they're exiled for 13 years. And in their exile for 13 years, their family's broken up. Like it's the 5 Pandavas and Draupadi, but Draupadi's children are taken care of by someone else. They're not in exile with them. Subhadra is back in Dwarka with Abhimanyu. I mean, Arjuna didn't see his son for 13 years. You know, it was heavy stuff going on. And then they're incognito, and while they're incognito, you know, Draupadi's accosted by Kichak. I mean, so many things. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, he talks about how, when he was talking about the suffering of the Pandavas, he talked about how he was gored by a bull, how he lived for 4 or 5 years practically in poverty after being a very successful business person. And he was saying, you can't say, if this is going to happen to the Pandavas, if this is going to happen, it's not going to happen to me. Well, I'm not going to have any difficulty in life. So what does it mean that Krishna protects his devotees? Well, sometimes Krishna does arrange things so that something bad that would have happened to us by our karma doesn't happen. Like Prabhupada would sometimes say, you know, if you cut your finger, maybe you were destined to break your arm, and Krishna's minimized that karma. So sometimes Krishna does have that what would have happened to us by karma doesn't happen. Either it doesn't happen at all, or it happens very slightly. Karmadi nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. And we have some assurance that even though I think it's a safe assumption that all of us have karmically many, many lifetimes of suffering that's due to us, that's not going to happen. Krishna's not going to make us take birth as a cow and be slaughtered because we ate a hamburger when we were a kid. We didn't know any better. You know, that karma is erased. So sometimes Krishna does take away the bad thing that could happen. And sometimes, like what's happening here in this pastimes, he's making plans to counteract those problems. Like here, Krishna's saying, okay, Kalyavan is coming, Jarasandar's coming, I don't want my family to be killed, I don't want my family to be captured and imprisoned, and therefore I'm going to make some plan. And he makes a far-out mystical plan. So I don't want to be a spoiler here, but anyway, as we go on the next few verses, the plan Krishna makes is really an amazing plan. While I was traveling, one devotee was talking to me a lot about this, you know, what it was like, how Krishna made this plan. And so sometimes Krishna does that, and sometimes we see that in our own lives. How we'll be in some kind of dangerous situation, the danger is approaching, and then poof, Krishna just does this far-out thing, and everything is all right. And this has happened to me several times in my life. You know, there's some kind of catastrophe looming on the horizon, and then it's gone. But there's another way in which Krishna protects his devotees, and this way is something that we can only appreciate when we're ourselves in the process of surrender, and that is he uses everything for his devotees' benefit. Oh, I wanted to give you another example of a wonderful way that Krishna saved his devotees. We have this example of Dwarka, but there's another example. This is from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this example from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam also very much reminds me of what Krishna is saying in today's verse, where he says, well, Jarasandhar may come today, tomorrow, or the next day. And the acharyas are saying he's speaking like, you know, ordinary person would speak. So this is, Srivas Thakur was being threatened by the Muslims because Srivas Thakur had this big kirtan going on in his house every night. And so the local Hindus were complaining about it to the Muslims. So the Muslims were about to arrest Srivas Thakur for disturbing the peace. So Srivas is most dear to the Lord. Therefore, the Lord blessed him and everyone present by placing his lotus feet upon their heads. Smiling Vishwambar, Vishwambar is another name for Lord Chaitanya. Smiling Vishwambar said, "May your attachment and attraction for me increase." I thought, what a nice benediction. Right? The Lord spoke loudly like a roaring lion and addressed Srivasa. Addressing Srivasa said, "O Srivasa, you are afraid of something? News has reached me that the government men want to capture you, and they have come with 2 boats. I am the super soul within everyone's heart. Thus I control and direct everyone's activities according to my sweet will. The king can only capture you if I, being situated in his heart, prompt him to do so." This is the Mare Krishna Rake Ke Rake Krishna Mare Ke. If Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. Now, I really like what goes on after this. Yet if for some reason he acts independently, so even though Krishna in the heart can give direction, the living entity has free will. He says, if for some reason he acts independently and gives the order to capture you, then I will do the following. I will be the first to step into the boat and present myself before the king. Upon seeing me, do you think he can remain seated upon the throne? I will delude him, take control of him, and drag him down. So that's Lord Chaitanya's plan B. So he had a plan A, plan B. Now he's got a plan C. Should this not happen, then I will tell the king, listen to the truth, O king. Call all of your religious heads and judges to the court. Collect all of your elephants, horses, animals, and birds. Whatever creatures you have, bring them to your palace. Then order all of your Qazi priests to read from your scriptures and inspire the creatures to such a state of spiritual emotion that they begin to cry. So he's saying, Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm going to go to the court, tell him to bring all of his religious leaders and a bunch of animals, and ask the religious leaders to make the animals cry. When his priests fail to do so, then I will reveal my potency to the king. I will say, O king, on the instructions of these same Qazi priests, whose lack of spiritual power we have already witnessed, you want to forbid the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Now you shall see my power to the full satisfaction of your eyes. Then I shall capture a mad elephant and bring him before the king, along with other elephants, horses, deer, and other animals, and instantly make them all cry in ecstasy and chant Krishna's name. So could Lord Chaitanya do this? He does this later in the Jharikanda forest. He makes all the animals chant. I will make the king and all his men cry and chant Krishna's name. I know that you don't believe that it is possible, but I will show you right now, and you can see for yourself. The Lord noticed a small girl who was the daughter of Srivas Pandit's brother named Narayani. Lord Gaurachandra, the supreme Godhead, the super soul within everyone's heart, ordered the little girl, Narayani, chant Krishna's name and cry in ecstasy. The 4-year-old girl became extremely agitated with ecstatic spiritual emotion and cried out, "Oh Krishna!" She began to weep, losing all perception of the external world. Tears streamed down her body and she fell to the ground. Smiling, Lord Vishwambar asked Srivas, "Are your fears pacified now?" Vaishnavas will remember for many years to come how Narayani was a recipient of the Lord's mercy. Of course, she later becomes the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport to 1856 talks about how Krishna does this, how this is the other option, that Krishna can allow the bad things to happen, but use them in such a way that they actually bring us to spiritual joy. So here in this purport, this is 1856, the word mat vyapasraya mean under the protection of the Supreme Lord. To be free from material contamination, a pure devotee acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. There is no time limitation for a pure devotee. He is always 24 hours a day, 100% engaged in activities under the direction of the Supreme Lord. To a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very, very kind. In spite of all difficulties, he he is eventually placed in the transcendental abode or Krishna Loka. He is guaranteed entrance there. There is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is eternal, imperishable, and full of knowledge. So that Krishna somehow uses everything to bring us to his abode, in spite of all difficulties, Prabhupada says. And if the devotee has this mood that Krishna is my protector, Krishna is protecting me. I broke my leg. Krishna's protecting me. Somehow, he's using my broken leg to bring me closer to him. Somehow or other. Somebody yelled at me. Somebody called me a fool. Krishna's using this to bring me closer to him. Whatever difficulties we go through, we see that always they're part of Krishna's protection. And in this way, we act with direction from Krishna and with faith, with direction from Krishna and Guru and with faith. And when we act like that, we actually feel Krishna's protection. It's not just some theoretical thing. But we feel like that, and we feel just like the cows that can go, I'm just going to go drink the water of the Yamuna. I'm surrounded by a forest fire. You know, torrents of rain are falling, but I know that Krishna is always there as my protector. So I think we have, that clock says no minutes, my watch says 1 minute. 1 minute. Anybody have question, comment, correction, addition, subtraction? Madhvapashraya. Ashraya. It's a shelter. Ashraya. So in these verses 18, 56, 57, 58, you're going to find Ashraya is there in several different forms. Prasadam and Ashraya are there. My prasadam, my shelter are there in several different forms. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.